Runtime manager basic idea everyone should have, but still we'll discuss more about runtime manager. So in runtime manager, let's say we are going for sandbox. So runtime manager we use to deploy our Mule application. Okay, so this will provide you server, so which is known as Mule runtime. In Mule server, where we are deploying our Mule application, that is known as Mule runtime. So it will provide you Mule runtime where you can deploy your Mule application. Okay. And when you deploy your Mule application, so it will ask you about configuration. Okay. So that configuration you will after deployment you will able to see inside settings. Okay. So it will ask you about worker and worker size. Okay. So first of all, like Mule worker is nothing but it's a smallest entity of Mule runtime where you can deploy your Mule application. And in MCD question like MCD exam or MCIS exam also, there will be some question based on this. So it will ask you like, means they will give you some scenario and they will ask you some related questions. So first thing, as I mentioned, Mule worker that is smallest unit where you can deploy your Mule application. At the same time, on one worker, you can deploy at max one Mule application only. You can't deploy it more than one Mule application. You can deploy maximum one Mule application. Okay. So sometime, okay. After that, you need to select worker size also. There are 8 size of Mule worker starting from 0.1 vcore to 16 vcore. And based on that, it will automatically it will select heap memory also. So you can see here. So total here, these all are hidden since we don't have enough workers. So that options are hidden. Okay. So it will give you like option to select appropriate size of Mule worker. Okay. So starting with 0.1 V code. So anyone has idea what is this V code and what is this heap memory? No. Okay. So V code is nothing but it's a size of your like it will tell you about your operating system where your Mule application is deployed. Okay. So based on the vCore capacity, it will able to handle number of requests. Okay. So 0.1 vCore will be lowest one and 16 vCore will be maximum one of this worker. And it tells about like you can say it tells about your CPU, like how many vCore you are using for your CPU. And then heap memory will tell you memory where you are doing processing, where you which will be used by your Mule application to do data processing. Okay, so a small part of this memory will be used by your Mule application to deploy your Mule application, and remaining part will be used by data to do lots of operation there. Okay, so sometime it may require you need to do scaling. Okay, so scaling can be of two type, vertical and horizontal. So whenever like you develop your API and you expose your API to external world, so there will be some capacity of your API. Okay, your API is able to handle 100 requests in 1 hour. And in future, like you start receiving 150 requests instead of 100 requests. which is your maximum capacity 100 requests, but you start receiving 150 requests. Then what will happen? You are going beyond the capacity of your API, and your API will not have enough resource. Enough resource means vcode and heap size. So your API will not have enough resource to handle those requests. Then what will happen? Your server, that worker may crash. Okay, and your API will not be available. So to avoid this kind of thing, what we can do? We can do what? We can do horizontal scaling. So in horizontal scaling, what you will do? Previously, you had one instance of your Mule application. Okay. Now what you will do? You will deploy your Mule application on another worker. Okay. So now what will be total capacity of your API? So now previously one instance was able to handle 100 requests. Now we have two instances. So two instance will able to handle 200 requests. So which is again like means more than the number of requests we are getting. So previously within 100, now after few days, your API is getting more popularity and you will start getting 150 requests. So now you have two instances to handle all those 150 requests. Okay. So in this way, you can do horizontal scaling where you are increasing the number of workers. Previously, it was one worker. Now you have two, three workers. So you are increasing the number of workers. Another thing we have that is vertical scaling. So like let's say at this moment you are getting less CPU intensive process and slowly your complexity, your API complexity got increased and you start getting more CPU intensive process. So in that case, you need bigger CPU, like instead of 0.1, you want 0.2 or 0. Or maybe 1 vcode. Based on the complexity of your API, you need to select which appropriate vcode you need to select. And slowly when like request data structure, data size will also increase. In that case also you need to do this vertical scaling. Okay. A part of that you can see few more properties here. So first one is automatic restart your application when not responding. So when your API will not respond, in that case, what it will do? It will automatically restart your Mule application. Another one is persistent queue. So like whenever you use VMQ, so what kind of VMQ you want to use, persistent or non-persistent, that you need to select here. And then this is the object store V2. Okay, so whenever you configure object store in your Mule application, okay, so what will happen? That object store will be like created within your Mule application. Okay. So if it will be created within your Mule application, generally we use object store for caching purpose and for temporary storage purpose. Now you have your Mule application deployed on two workers, but this object store is deployed on each worker separately. So whenever new request will come, behavior of those two instances will be different. In one instance, you are getting different cache data, and another instance you are getting different cache data. So which is technically wrong, which should not happen. If you are deploying your Mule application on 2-3 server or 2-3 worker, so behavior of all those three workers should be 100% same. Okay. So this object store v2, what it will do, instead of creating this object store inside the worker, it will create outside the worker. Okay. So once it will be outside of worker, no matter how many Mule instance we have deployed for same application, all will use that same worker. All will use that same object store, not worker, object store. Okay. So in that case, we should use this object store v2. If you think you are going to do clustering, you must need to select this option. Otherwise, you will have data inconsistency. Okay. And a part of that, here you need to select Mule runtime, which runtime you want to deploy your Mule application. And then you need to select a region. So there are 4 regions based on your location. You need to select appropriate region. And here you can see we have few more tabs. So first tab is properties that you must need to know. So here you can define runtime property. Okay. So whenever you develop your Mule application, you can create property on 2 places. One is on application level and another one is on runtime, on Mule runtime. So can anyone tell me what is difference between these two policy? What advantage, disadvantage we have? For application level property, what we do inside application property file, and this runtime property, what we create on server.
I think this is per environment. You are right now on the sandbox environment, so these properties are more for sandbox. And if you have a different environment, let's say staging environment, you can overwrite the same properties what you defined in your code.
Anyone else? Okay. So we have two property. One is application level, another one is environment level. So whatever property you think, that property should be different for each environment and which will be keep changing very frequently. Okay. So those property we should create on environment level. Let's say mule.env. Okay, that property will be used to select appropriate property file. Okay, and that mule.env will be different for each environment. So mule.env property we will create outside of our Mule application. So where we will create on environment. Some property which you think, okay, as a BAU activity, okay, I need to keep changing this value. So what you can do, instead of creating on application level, you can create on environment level. So what advantage you will get if you will create on environment level? So whenever you will configure that property, okay, you don't need to build your Mule application again. You just need to redeploy or restart your Mule application. Then that property will start working. But if you will create application level, whenever you do any change in your property file, you need to rebuild your Mule application and you need to redeploy your Mule application.
Yeah, Ravi, makes sense. I have a question on object store, which we just discussed.
Yeah.
So let's say I am using clustering and I have three worker nodes, let's say two worker nodes, and
Yes.
both are using the same object store. So does that object store consume heap?
Yes. Yes. So what it will do, it will take some separate space on your mule, you can
But
say.
Ravi, each worker is having its own heap, right? Each worker would be
Okay. Okay.
having its own
Yeah.
CPU and its own
Yeah.
heap,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
And I have a common object store which is consumed by both worker 1 and worker 2.
Yes.
So
Correct.
is it like there is a separate space for that object store in both the
Yes.
heap?
Correct. Correct.
Correct. Okay. And if I'm doing a lot of caching, let's say for example, then there is a high chance that my heap will be consumed.
Okay. That there will be some limit. It's not like that separate. Like if you are using object v2,
Mm-hmm.
so you can store unlimited data. It's not like that. There will
Okay.
be some limitation.
Okay. So okay, got it. But at the end of the day, the object store is stored in memory, and that is nothing but your JVM.
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so property wise, hope everyone clear. So whenever you are defining property, you need to first think, okay, this property will keep changing based on environment. Okay, means see many property will keep changing based on environment. But if you think this property must be environment specific like mule.env, then secret key. Okay, so this kind of property you can configure in environment property, and few property which you need to keep changing based on for BOU activity. Okay, so if you will put that property inside application property, then whenever you will have BAU activity, you need to rebuild your Mule application and then you need to redeploy your Mule application. But if you will make it environment property, you just need to restart your server. Once you will configure that property, you just need to restart your server, nothing else. Okay. So in that case, again, environment property will be helpful. Okay. Apart of that, we have another things like logging, then static IPs. These all are like generally we use default option only. So this will be like in static IP. Based on the region, it will select one static IP for your mobile application. Okay. But apart of this, if you want to see like what all request is coming and what all data you stored inside, like got stored inside VMQ or object store, then you can see here we have those two options. You can go to this object store and you will able to see your object store, select your object store. Then it will ask you for which partition, select this, and then it will give you set of key value pair what got created. Okay? So you will able to see data inside your object store. Same thing if you are using VMQ. So here you will able to see all the data stored inside VMQ. And one important thing is here scheduler. Okay. So whenever you develop any scheduler based API, okay, then you will able to select the scheduler for that particular application here. And instead of waiting for that particular time, let's say you have scheduled for every day 11 a.m. and you want to run your Mule application right now. Then what you can do, you can go to scheduler, select your Mule application and click on run. So what it will do, it will trigger your scheduler and your application will be run at this point only. So this option you can use to run your mobile application. Then we have logger. So this component is again very useful where you will able to see logs for your Mule application. And here in right hand side, you will able to see all the instance of your worker, like how many times you have restarted or you have deployed your Mule application. If it will be clustered one, okay, then you will able to see n number of worker. Let's say 2 worker or 3 worker, you will able to see here. Okay, and you can select particular worker to see your log, and you can do customization inside advanced. Here you can select from which date time to which date time you want to see log, and you can select priorities also. Based on that, it will filter out your log. Okay, so this is all about runtime manager. Now again, we will go to now next we will go to access management, and here again we have lots of things which you should know. So first thing, this environment. Okay, so here you can create your environment based on the requirement. So at this moment, you can see here multiple environments are there, but all are not required. At this moment, we are using these two only, sandbox and production. But project to project, this environment will vary. Let's say you have environment develop, SIT, UAT, deprod, and prod. Okay, in standard project, you will have this many of environment. So first UAT environment will be used by developer to deploy their Mule application and to do unit testing. Okay. Then second will be SIT, which will be used by testing team to do integration testing. Okay. And after that, we will have UAT environment where user will do all the kind of testing. They will validate all the API meeting their business requirement. Then we will have pre-prod environment. Once everything will be done, UAT sign off will be done. Then we need one similar to production. We need one environment that is pre-prod, which is very similar to production one. So in pre-prod environment, we do performance testing, load testing, pen test. So all those kind of testing we do on this pre-prod environment, and production we do our final deployment. Hope everyone clear with this. So here you can create, click on add environment, you can give any name, and then you can select which worker you want to use, production worker, sandbox worker, or design worker. Okay. This design worker is nothing but when you create your Mule application on your design center, then this worker will be used, design worker. Many people like means they don't know like what is this design worker, since very rarely we use this. Okay, so this design worker is nothing but whenever you develop your Mule application on design center and you deploy there, then this worker will be used. And generally we use this for POC purpose. So in this way, on environment, you will able to create environment. Now coming to roles. Okay, so here we have multiple role. Okay, you can add new role and you can give this, like you can select that role, what that role will do. I think whatever role you can see here, all are standard role, which is created by Mulesoft itself. But you can create your own role. Let's say in your team, there are 5 developers. Okay. So first developer, he is senior developer and he need to take care of environment also. He will have lots of permission. So for that, you will create another role. You have junior developer, so you want to give him limited access. He will not able to see production environment. He will not able to do anything in production. So you will create one another role where he will have all the access for non-production. For production, he will not have access. So in this way, you can create multiple role and you can assign to different developer. Okay. Then users. So here you can create a user like, yeah, based on the based on your organization, you can create user and you can give them different kind of permission. And here you will have your organization that you need to, that detail you will have here. After that, we have this multi-factor here, like Mulesoft has integrated their own SSO, single sign-on option. Either you can use that one, or you can, once you will enable this multi-factor, so it will ask you to do some kind of verification. Either like there are multiple options. Either you can install Microsoft Authenticator. So there you will keep getting token, and that token will be valid for 30 seconds. So that token, once you will do provide your user ID and password in your account, then it will ask for that token. Once you will enter that token, then only you will able to log in. So in multi-factor authentication, Mulesoft has added some additional security after your user ID and password. Once you will fill like put that proper detail, then only you will able to do login. Okay. After this, like this, all things are there which we will discuss. But before that, we'll go to runtime manager. So here you will able to see all the resources available for your project. Okay, so first in production, we have total 7 vCore, out of which 5.5 in use. Okay, in non-production, we have total 4 vCore, out of which 2.6 in use. Okay, so whenever you take license, you take for production one. Okay, by default, you will get for non-production. Okay, so for production, we take 7. So by default, non-production, we got 4. Then this is the design one. As I mentioned, whenever you are doing any POC project on design center, so this particular worker will be used for those. Then we have static IP. So you can like configure static IP for your Mule application. So this particular will be used for that purpose. Out of 22, 18 in used. 18 is in use. Okay. Then load balancer, VPC and VPN. This 3 part is important. Okay. So for this, definitely we will do one separate discussion in detail. But at this moment, let me give you high level overview. So this load balancer we use to manage our load. Let's say we have clustered environment. Okay. So whenever request will come, so it should route to both the worker. Okay. And load should be distributed among those 2 workers so that both worker will you will use their resource and your server will not crash. So then for that purpose, we use this load balancer. Then VPC and VPN we have. So VPC we use to create a virtual private cloud, which will create a one kind of, like you can say, means it's not an actual private cloud. Since you know in Mulesoft they are using AWS cloud to create all the worker. Okay, so all worker are using some shared space, but for security purpose, you want to make it private. So what you can do, you can create, you can take license of this VPC, and this will give you, this will help you to create one VPC, virtual private cloud, on top of your worker. And then we have VPN. So VPN generally we use, this is cloud version of your Mule application. If you want to connect with any like on-premise application, like you have on-premise database or you have on-premise like legacy system. So if you want to connect with those systems, then you need to configure this VPN. But anyhow, we will have detailed discussion for all these three. Okay, and this is like someone recently asked how means how much space will be there for object store. So you can see here object store usage. Okay, so this is in term of MB, how many MB we are using for object store. Okay, so actually here we will have two more detailed discussion about this security policy. Okay, and about the VPC, VPN, and load balancer. So better actually that will take maybe around 2 hours to complete all those discussion. So better we'll start in our next session and we'll discuss all those things in next session. Okay. So for today, I think we are good. We can close our session today. And in tomorrow's session, let's have a detailed discussion for all those missing, all those remaining component. Then we will be good with this AnyPoint platform.
Are we having it tomorrow, Ravi, or is it next week?
Yeah, next week only, but yeah, tomorrow, let me see. I think in India it's a holiday, right?
Yeah, we can have it if you want.
But I'm not sure. Diwali is there, so maybe everyone will be busy with many activity. So
Mm.
better
Yeah, let us
let's
know
do it.
accordingly if you want. I mean,
Yeah,
you-
yeah, 1-2% will maybe available, but most of the people will be busy with Diwali
okay,
festival. Yeah, better not to take on tomorrow. So let's
okay.
have next Saturday. Okay,
Yep.
okay, fine then.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you so much.